That's the one thing about our audience. They always want a new guy to break through the glass ceiling.
All you have to do is just be real.
Allow me to reintroduce myself. I am the jabroni beating, pie eating, trailblazing, eyebrow raising, talking is done, you're out of your class, no sleep till Brooklyn, The Rock whips your ass. Woo!
I wish you and King would quit talking.
Welcome to Around the Ring, episode 45 for today, Monday, November 30th, 2015. I'm your host, Dave Brown, joined as always by my co-host, Jason Blackwood. How you doing, sir?
Good as always.
Good. You survived the Thanksgiving and shopping Black Friday. You didn't go out and beat the crap out of anyone for TV or anything like that.
No, I stayed away from the Black Friday, so those can be pretty hectic and chaotic. I do a lot of my online shopping, so I stay away from the stores and stuff. It can be too hectic for me.
Yeah, good call. Good call. Well, we are going to get right into it this week. Before we jump into, well, you know what? We'll save that little bit of news for later. Let's go ahead and just jump right into Raw. So Raw was from Nashville, Tennessee, and opened up with highlights from the Survivor Series. And before we get into just the ins and outs of the program, what was your overall thoughts on Raw?
Personally, I didn't really care too much for Raw. It just seemed like it was kind of put together. They didn't really give too much thought into it, especially with the kind of the whole way they did it at Dean Ambrose, especially with him being in the main event and everything, and how they just kind of put him off to another tag match. That was a weird tag match to begin with. I mean, that one was totally thrown together too. I really didn't care. I mean, after a good showing of the last three Raws, this one's just back to the old stuff again, it feels like to me.
Yeah, that is pretty much my thoughts. The show started out with an Authority in-ring promo, and I have not missed those. I really liked the Sheamus is boring sign that someone was holding up. I thought that was pretty good. Really, what I thought in this, there was so much talk. Triple H especially was talking so hard, trying to make Roman Reigns sound really strong, was the whole point, it seemed like, of this promo. Sheamus came out, and I have to admit, one of the better parts of this, I thought, was Sheamus. I like his kind of happy, I don't freaking care about you, look, I'm on cloud nine, motherfuckers, attitude. I kind of enjoyed that. That was one of the better things about it. Roman Reigns came out, and they've got to stop making him be Cena 2.0, because he was, he won the title, he lost the title, he's all smiling and happy and jovial, and that's, not really the attitude you want to portray, I would think. I mean, I would be kind of pissed, but then again, on the one hand, it's like, well, you could come out and say, I would have had him come out and say, Sheamus, I do not blame you at all for taking advantage. You were Money in the Bank holder. I probably would have done the same thing. It doesn't mean I'm not going to kick your ass when we have a fair fight. And then, just start ripping into the Authority maybe. I think that would have been a little bit better than him coming out, smiling and doing his best Cena impression. I did like the fact that they used this as a thing to bring Rusev back in, and at the end Barrett showed up as well. So I do like that they're keeping this international group of Barrett, Rusev, and Sheamus together. I think that's nice that they're doing that, and they're trying to use this to elevate all three of these guys. How seriously people are going to be able to take Wade Barrett being elevated into a main event picture, I don't know. But they don't have a whole lot of choices right now.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of funny how towards the end, just Rusev just popped up, just kind of like out of nowhere. And just hit Haynes with that kick.
Yeah, he just took his head off. And you know what? Overall, this wasn't the worst segment on the show. As I was watching it, I kind of enjoyed it. Things did go downhill after that. There were then highlights of the Wyatt's Undertaker-Kane match. The Dudley Boys then had a match with the Wyatt family, Bray and Luke Harper to be exact. And I've been looking forward to seeing the Dudleys and the Wyatts go at it, but I'd prefer it being, Harper and Rowan. What ended up happening? The Wyatts win after a clothesline by Harper, which he just looks like he's going to decapitate some poor fool with that thing one of these days. I thought this was a pretty good match, but not long enough. It was definitely a win that the Wyatts needed. And then afterwards, Rowan and Strowman just kind of laid the beat downs. And my big question is, what do you do with the Wyatts at this point?
I mean, that's what I was wondering. I mean, especially, it looks like what they're probably going to end up doing is they're probably going to be splitting off into tag teams, maybe. I mean, because they had these two guys going with the Dudley boys and kind of it was who was it? Strowman and Bray Wyatt, right? Or it
was Harper and Wyatt.
And Wyatt, yeah. And I mean, this was a good match. It was a stiff match, and those are my favorite kind of matches, anyways. But who knows what the hell they're going to do with the Wyatt family? They don't even know what the hell they're going to end up doing with the Wyatt family. I don't really understand what they're doing with the Dudley boys. I mean, they've basically come off as, I mean, they're not really jobbers, but they're almost like jobbers. I mean, I was kind of expecting some kind of a feud going with the New Day and the TLC, but I mean, it doesn't really look like it's going to end up happening that way.
Yeah, that to me, that is the strange thing, that they blew off their feud with the New Day so quickly. I mean, they almost shouldn't have gone straight after the New Day, and I'm glad at the end of the day they kept the titles on the New Day. Unless, and I think we talked about this before, had it gone to a TLC match at TLC, then you put the Dudleys over and let them win the belts in the match that they helped create. That would have been fitting, but at this point, you would be shoehorning them in against the New Day, who have beaten them multiple times. I don't know. I mean, maybe the whole plan always was that the Dudleys come in basically as enhancement talent to make the rest of the tag team division look good. And that we'll certainly know that's the case if they start jobbing out to the Ascension and the Lucha Dragons, which hopefully won't ever happen. But yeah, I don't know. Where do you go with the Dudleys? Where do you go with the Wyatts? There was, interestingly, someone put together a mock flyer for WrestleMania 32, and in that the old boxing match style and kind of old NWA style of flyer, and on there it had Bray Wyatt versus Sting as like kind of a possible match, and that I wouldn't mind seeing that if Sting could go one more time. Maybe, as much as I don't want him to lose another pay-per-view match, maybe him going out putting Bray Wyatt over would be a good thing.
Yeah, and I love those posters. There's somebody that does them every year for WrestleMania, and sometimes they do them a lot for the big events. I know it's posters you're talking about. That would be a decent match. I mean, I take back what I said last week when I want to say it was might have been the week before, but talking about having Undertaker and Bray Wyatt at number 2. That would just be, that would be a boring match. But then again, you got to think. Do you think that Bray Wyatt and Sting would sell out would put seats and butts and seats at WrestleMania?
I don't know, man. To really, the problem, WWE has backed themselves into a serious corner, and of all of the years to book one of the largest arenas in the country, this was not the year to do it. This was not the time to try to pack 100,000 people into a stadium when you can't get, when you are to the point where you have less than 3 million viewers on your flagship show. Ratings keep tanking. Fans are, pissed off because it has sucked. And they haven't done anything to build new talent outside of John Cena. They built him and his generation of talent up 10 years ago and have done nothing since then except made everyone else look like a bunch of bitches. So this is the bed that they've made, and now they get to rot in it. So I don't know. To me, I think if you just for marquee, because we haven't built anyone up, we need to put as many butts in seats. WrestleMania 32, I think, should have Undertaker versus Sting in a retirement match. Everyone leaves retired match, and it's just done. That's the dream match no one that would ever think you would see. I think having, and this is something I think Jim Ross suggested, having Brock Lesnar go against Batista would be a great match. Oh, shoot. Lost him.
Are you there, Dave?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I got you now.
Sorry about that, man.
Hey, no problem. Where were we? Where did we...
Sting Undertaker double retirement match.
Okay. Yeah, so...
Yeah. That's how it should end up going. That would be the one that puts the butts in the seat. That would be the one that sells out. Everybody knows Sting. Everybody knows Undertaker. It'd be the best way for both of them to go out. Now, whether Sting can go or not, that's a different story.
True. Yeah, that is.
So with the way that Undertaker's been having these matches, that he's going to have a match at WrestleMania, I'm sure, this year.
Yeah, unless he just, his health goes to poo in the next 6 months, I'm sure he will have one more WrestleMania match. Though, admittedly, there is something fitting if that's Survivor Series, since he debuted at Survivor Series, it ends up being his last match, and even though he should probably go out jobbing to whoever, because that's what you do when you go out, having it end on a high note at Survivor Series works. So yeah, I don't know. The other thing I was thinking, and this is something Jim Ross had suggested, but you could have Batista against Brock Lesnar.
That'd be a good match.
That would, and that would be something fresh. I don't know how often it was done back in the day, but it's certainly something we haven't seen in a very long time. So that would be that would be a lot of potential there. You could have, because Seth Rollins is still going to be out, so you could have Triple H against Roman Reigns, and that would be another nice big marquee match. Roman
Reigns has to go over, though. Triple H can't.
Yeah. I think that goes without saying.
That pissed me off last year when he went over Sting. There was really no reason for it. It just goes to show you that Vince is still 20 years later still trying to bury WCW. That's the feeling I came out of anyway.
Same here. I think after watching that Sting documentary, Sting had a very different opinion. He seemed to think that was his last match, and if that was his last match, he goes out on his back, and he was totally fine with it. He just seemed ecstatic that he had a moment in WrestleMania moment. But Sting is from everything I've seen, he is a really good guy, and he just doesn't seem to harbor ill will, which is admirable, especially in this business. So, speaking of Undertaker, there was an Undertaker vignette, and then we had the Sasha Banks Becky Lynch match, which, okay, so there was a lot of talk happened about this match. Mick Foley went on an amazingly good rant about it. The thing with this match is it was a really good match, but way too short.
Yep. That is exactly my thought. Was just way too short. Maybe they're hoping to build this up for a pay-per-view match, and they're just kind of using these Raw matches and SmackDown matches as like throwaways to like build it up to the pay-per-view match. Who knows?
Yeah,
a good match for the short amount of time that it was given.
Yeah, it was a great 4-minute match, and but amazingly, it showed in those 4 minutes how much better those two women are than the Bellas, or the vast majority of the divas are in WWE. I mean, with the exception of, I'd say, the people in NXT, Charlotte, Paige, and Natty. Just in that 4 minutes, it showed that Sasha and Becky Lynch are just leaps and bounds better than damn near everyone. I would even say they are the two best women wrestlers in WWE and NXT, just period, as far as their complete in-ring ability.
Oh yeah, Sasha Banks is one of the best. I love Banks statement. That's one of the freaking best moves out there right now.
Yeah, that's a good move. I think Becky is so criminally underused that frustrates me, but yeah, I like both of them a lot. We then had a confusing segment thing where Paige gets on the Tron and she's screaming at Michael Cole, and I'm thinking, can the audience hear Michael Cole? How much of this can they hear? And Paige is screaming that Charlotte cheated because she was under the ropes when she had the figure 8 applied. I thought this was really good. I think Paige is really getting a lot better in her role as the bitchy, spiteful anti-diva, which I know hasn't really gone the whole anti-diva route that she had before, but she's just really good, and I thought this worked.
Yeah, it was a good segment. What I thought was weird was whenever and just I don't think I've never actually been to a live event, but I don't think they can hear the announcers other than the people that's like right there next to the announcers.
Yeah,
like just straight crowd noise and just whatever they hear on the microphone and what's on the Titantron. That's the only thing they can hear.
Yeah, so I wonder though. I think they can turn those mics on so everyone can hear them, and they're supposed to be able to hear what's going on the Tron. So, did they turn on Michael Cole's mic for that? It was just really confusing.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was the only. But for what she did, Paige did a very good job in that. We then had, of course, the highlight of every single WWE program ever, the New Day, when their 1-year anniversary New Day Country Music Jamboree Open Challenge. When they announced this was coming up, I had to laugh, but I had two like pipe dream thoughts. It's like, how awesome would it be if they mention the Open Challenge and then Cass and Enzo's music hits?
Oh man!
Now, the problem is they're not in the East Coast. They're not. Who knows how much Nashville knows Cass and Enzo? Unlike New York City, which would have gone just bonkers.
Shit. Yeah.
My other absolute pipe dream wouldn't happen because they just signed a new contract with Ring of Honor is for the Young Bucks to come out.
Yeah.
But
that would have been nice.
Yeah.
I was kind of hoping they was going to end up using the Open Challenge for something like that, but that's not what we got.
Yeah, and Kofi really hating country music, apparently. I miss the Open Challenge. As much as I'm glad that John Cena is not holding a title and he is off of television, I miss the Open Challenge, and I wish one of the champions, I don't care which one, I just wish one of them would bring that back. It seems like the U.S. title would be the best, really, title for that, because Kevin Owens probably, I don't know, he's such a blowhard that I could see him saying, okay, I can beat anyone any week, bring it. So I don't know, I miss the Open Challenge though.
An Open Challenge is awesome.
Yeah. So the Lucha Dragons eventually came out and talked trash, and Sin Cara actually spoke, which was, I don't understand how that man can see anything out of that mask, let alone breathe. But he was really kind of hard to understand. So then, yeah,
great from this segment was did Kofi break kayfabe twice, or no? He broke kayfabe once, and then Xavier broke kayfabe. He said, "This is not my character saying I hate country. This is me saying I hate country." And then Xavier was talking to Lucha Dragons and the Usos. And he was like, "You guys get to have the opportunity to come and wrestle for our belt." And you don't hear that term outside of message boards or like anything like that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they were great. The segment kind of devolved a bit, I thought, once the Lucha Dragons and Usos came out, but it was still entertaining as all hell.
Yeah, it wasn't my favorite New Day segment, but it was a pretty good one, though.
Yeah. We then had Charlotte doing a backstage interview with Renee Young. Poor Charlotte, she's still not comfortable just talking in front of the mic, in camera. She's getting better, but it's still just not there yet. And we had then Mark Henry versus Neville. Yeah, you say you thought it was a pretty good match?
It was a weird match.
It was. It really was.
They don't know what the hell they're doing with Neville. They're like completely dropping the ball with this guy. It's like they're basically just saying, okay, go out, do the Red Arrow, look good, and then come back.
Yeah,
Mark Henry, they try to make him look like he's somebody to beat, but dude's been jobbing for the past 3 or 4 months. So I mean, probably even longer than that. So beating Mark Henry, I guess it's just because of the size difference. It's a big deal, but really on paper, Neville beating Mark Henry is not really a big deal.
Yeah, exactly. And I know Henry is getting ready to retire at the end of his contract, and he has said that basically he wants to help put over young talent in his last few months. So that's a good thing, and I liked at the end how he shook Neville's hand and everything, and really did a lot to put him over. There was a slight botch. I think he wasn't supposed to kick out until after the 3, even though he kicked out right at the 3. So that was a little bit of an F up there. But yeah, they need to figure out something to do with Neville. I think if Neville was 6 inches taller, or had, and I don't mean this in any offensive way because I don't think he's a bad looking dude, but had a more of a traditionally good looking face, they would do something more with him. I think Kevin Dunn and Vince McMahon are so hung up on aesthetics that they just don't know what to do with the guy, despite the fact he is chiseled beyond chiseled, and his ability in the ring is almost unmatched. They're like big ears. I don't know what to do with this guy. Let's see what was next. We had Stardust doing a backstage promo, hilariously interrupted by Titus O'Neil. That was great.
This was my favorite segment of the whole night, honestly. This was a hilarious segment. I thought it was freaking great.
Yeah, I did too, and I wonder how much, because they were kind of building to a Cesaro Stardust something, but with Cesaro getting injured, that had to be thrown out, and I guess just in the meantime, the plans, they're essentially putting Titus in where Cesaro was going to go to some extent, but this was great. Titus O'Neil is so charismatic, and he is so funny. If he just wasn't so clumsy in the ring, because he's this big, huge guy, which they love, good-looking dude, just tons of energy, just charisma's dripping off the man. But then he goes to wrestle, and it's like, oh, okay, it's not very pretty, but all right. He's not awful, but he's not great,
I remember he had about 6 or 7 months back, he had a little run with NXT. I don't know if you remember that, where he kind of went down there and had a mini feud with Sami Zayn.
Yes, those were good matches.
Yeah. Of course, he's in there with Sami Zayn, too. So.
True. But it's so funny, though. Some people, man, and a perfect example is in the match that followed this, The Ascension, are so good down in NXT. And it's such a night and day difference. When they get up on the main roster, they just look like jokes. But down in NXT, man, they look great. Yeah. And we talked about that last week, but we had Stardust and The Ascension against Goldust and the Primetime Players. I thought it was kind of sad that Goldust did not get much of a response from the crowd. It was kind of crickets.
Yeah, and maybe they like we were saying last week. Hopefully they're building us up. Like a slow build. With these 6-man tag matches, stuff like that. And yeah, it's like you said, it's sad that Goldust is becoming somewhat of a relic now, and not too many people really know or care who he is anymore.
Yeah, and that's sad considering he is one of the, as far as WWE created gimmicks, it's probably one of the most successful, best ones that they've ever had. I mean, Undertaker obviously is the most successful, probably followed by Kane. But as far as someone who was already established, showed up in WWE, was given a completely new gimmick, it was one of the best ones they've ever had. And yeah, it is sad. I mean, granted, the guy hasn't been used very much other than a couple years ago when he and Cody were tag team champions. They had a good run there. Yeah, overall the crowd was really dead for this match, except that one point where Titus got the hot tag and he kind of woke them up. But yeah, it wasn't a terrible match. It was kind of there.
Goldust can still go too. That's the sad part.
He can. He is, I think, a very underrated wrestler. Dustin Rhodes is very talented. Always has been. And he's just been saddled with, part being Dusty's kid and having to live up to that. And that was, I think, one of the greatest things that Goldust did for him, is he no longer had to worry about having Rhodes as his name. And, excuse me, it helped him get out of Dusty's shadow, which was probably what he needed. And definitely had it not been for that gimmick, he probably would not have had as a successful career as he's had.
That's true.
Yeah.
He swore it up, man, whenever he was a Goldust. That's some, you go back and watch a lot of them Attitude Era Raws, man, that's some pretty racy stuff. Definitely stuff he wouldn't be able to get away with now.
Yeah, exactly. We then had Zeb Coulter and Alberto Del Rio came out for a promo in front of the announce table. And they trash talked the United States. Jack Swagger came out and actually got a pretty okay little pop and did one of his best promos ever. And though the sad thing is, the whole time watching this whole thing go down, I kept thinking, wow, I really like Swagger's haircut. I'm also glad they're finally doing something with him. Because he's one of those guys that he's good in the ring. Something's always never just been quite there. But maybe this will be a good feud for him. I know it's a feud that's been done in the past, but yeah, I guess we'll find out. But the whole Mex America thing, that shit's got to stop. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it was funny at first. Now it's just kind of like the same thing over and over and over again every week.
Yeah, and yes, Zeb, we get it. You're crazy. It's and just another example of wasted potential and just an absolute momentum destroyer. And though admittedly, I don't know. I'm trying to think of, bookings, what I would have done with Del Rio, and I just kind of, I don't know. I mean, I would have kept him as a tweener, not have him go straight up heel, because people were excited to see him again because it was such a shock. And I would have had him continue the U.S. Open Challenge. But who do you have him feud with? I don't know. I think it would have been better to just have the U.S. Open Challenge. And to some extent, I think this whole idea that everyone has to have a feud or a program is kind of silly. Something I like in Ring of Honor is the fact that there are just times that people come out and they just have matches because that's what you do. You have a match and it helps you in the standings to hopefully get a title shot at some point. And I wish WWE would work more toward that. Let's make it more about the titles and stop worrying about, having programs where for 3 months people, fight each other and they have basically even Steven bookings except for the pay-per-views and let one person get a win, the next person get a win, then someone gets the third win. And it would be nice if they just said, okay, not everyone needs a specific program. Let's have a champion who doesn't have to be in a feud with anyone per se. They just come out and defend the title. That's all you need. I mean, really, John Cena, when he was doing the Open Challenge for a lot of that, he wasn't in programs per se. He kind of had one against Rusev there, and then he had the one with Owens. But other than that, I mean, a lot of that time was just him walking out saying, "Who wants a title shot? Let's do this."
What was great about that whole thing? I didn't mean to interrupt you, Dave.
Oh, that's fine.
One of the things that was great about that was you could take those matches too and take those to a pay-per-view if you didn't want to do something, like have a clean finish or something on Raw. Like, for example, if they wanted to, before Sami Zayn got hurt, if they wanted to take that feud and go to a pay-per-view, they could have just ended that whole thing in with a schmosh finish or something, with a bullshit finish, and took it to a pay-per-view and said, well, I didn't get my full chance to go at you, so give me the chance at Hell in a Cell or whatever. And we can do this the right way.
Yeah, I like that. You could have one where there is a match and it has some kind of wonky ending, and then they come back out the next week for the Open Challenge and just say, you know what, I do want to face you for that belt, but let's do this at the pay-per-view. I'm not going to challenge you tonight. If you get whoever wins tonight, I want that person at XYZ pay-per-view. And that would be a great way to do it. And you could also you could start bringing back in like a ranking system like they used to have in the backs of Pro Wrestling Illustrated, with your contenders, and have a list for the U.S. title and the Intercontinental title and the World title. And of course there'd be, sharing on each of those lists, people on multiple ones. But that to me, they need to start treating it more like a sport in some ways. That's just something I miss from back in the day, and even WWE to some extent had that, not as much as the NWA and did and whatnot, but they need to make it simpler, make it about we're going to fight for the titles, and not everyone has to be in a blood feud. There's no need for that.
Yeah, I totally agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
The ranking system would be a hell of an idea.
All right, so then we had the Paige-Charlotte rematch for the Divas title. I thought Charlotte got a pretty good pop. There was some almost John Cena-esque spot calling in this match, which was kind of funny, and also kind of sad because I thought these two ladies should be better than that. Ended in a double count out, and again Paige put Charlotte in the PTO on the announce table, which doesn't make a goddamn bit of sense. Okay,
yeah, why is that such a big deal? Like, I don't understand that.
Why does it? What makes that hurt more than doing it in the ring? It would have made more when she started clearing it off. I was like, oh, she's gonna do the rampage on her.
That's what I thought too. That's exactly what I thought.
The only problem with that is the fact that their combined weight is about that of your average male wrestler, and the guys don't always break the table down. That table would have to be ultra super shaky in order for that to work. But even if it didn't fall apart, it would still be brutal looking. So that would have been, I think, much better. It's understandable why you wouldn't want to do a move where let's drive someone's head into this desk. Okay, that's fine. I understand why you're going to be a little shy of doing that, but yeah. So then there was a flashback to the opening segment of the show. Is it just me, or do you hate when they do this?
When they do the recap of yeah.
Yeah.
It's like We literally just watched this like an hour and a half ago.
Yeah, and for a while there, it was really bad. Like a good six plus months ago, it was, you would get a recap or a flashback to something from earlier in the show 3 or 4 times, it seemed like. It is asinine. Yes, I know you have 3 hours to fill, but for the love of God, just give people longer matches.
That's it.
Yeah. What was after that? Oh yeah, and then something that truly made me go, "Oh sweet God, we're in hell." Heath Slater was in the ring.
Oh my gosh, yes.
I absolutely loathe Heath Slater. This guy sucks so bad. And why fire Drew Galloway and keep Heath Slater?
Yeah, that was definitely a weird decision. You know, it's funny because back whenever Drew Galloway was around, Vince McMahon had like the biggest boner for that dude because I mean he was putting him in title matches and stuff like that. And I mean I wasn't watching at the time. This is just from what I've read on the internet. But I mean, you know, it's just like, you know, you go from that to a 3-man band. It's just like,
yeah, I don't. That's because that's a good question. Apparently, and I wasn't watching at the time either, but apparently Vince had even said, "This guy is it, man. He's the second coming. This is the future." And I don't know if he, you know, pissed someone off in the back, which apparently, you know, is crime number 1 in that company, apparently, or what happened. It fell apart. Now, granted, he is killing it everywhere else he goes. Getting out of WWE was the best thing for Drew McIntyre. Now, you know, Drew Galloway ever. I think he's making good money doing what he's doing. He's actually, his segments on TNA are the best things. The few times I turn that program on, he's just everywhere he goes. He's lighting up audiences. He's charismatic. So Heath Slater is just, he's about to start singing. He's got a guitar. I just want to kick him in the balls. Ryback comes out, and obviously they have nothing planned for Ryback. Otherwise, why would they have this whole thing? And then Slater cracks his guitar over Ryback's head, which Ryback totally no-sells, which was a great visual. Then Ryback laid out Heath Slater, and that was it.
You know, at this segment, it would have, and as much as I hate this guy, it would have made more sense and it would have been funnier just to have seen Honky Tonk Man out here.
Exactly.
I mean, with it being Nashville and stuff, you know.
Exactly. That would have made much more sense.
I mean, of course, you can't have Honky Tonk Man taking a shell shock or anything like that, but I mean, still, that would be better than Heath freaking Slater.
Yeah. That was just fucking awful. We then had a tag team match where no one got any introductions at all. Tyler Breeze and Kevin Owens against Dolph Ziggler and Dean Ambrose. This is the match of 4 of the most talented people in the company that they have absolutely no idea what to do with. We did get some Fight Owens Fight chants. One of the best things was Kevin Owens at one point yelled, I think it was at Ziggler, "Hey, cut off t-shirts are my thing, damn it," which made me laugh. This match, though, there was one point they did that whole let's cut away and replay something that just happened 30 seconds ago, and it screwed up the flow of the match because then something else kind of big happened. It was, I can't remember if it was a near fall or what. But yeah, it just really fucked up the flow of the match. Ambrose and Ziggler got the win. This was a good match, but should have been longer. Just like the Becky Sasha thing. Why do we have a 5 to 10 minute long segment with Heath Slater getting just his ass handed to him by Ryback instead of having 15 to 20 minute long matches with Sasha and Becky and Ambrose, Ziggler, Owens, and Breeze? It doesn't make any sense.
here's what I mean, and you can tell that they're building up a feud for the IC belt with Dean Ambrose and Kevin Owens, but why didn't Dean Ambrose have anything to say, at the beginning of Raw or anything like that, or come out with Roman Reigns and have his back or anything like that? They just kind of just said, okay, well, this is it, so have a good one. You had your shot, so
yeah,
let's not close up any gap holes or anything as of what happened with last night, and you're basically your best friend, so it made no sense to me.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe at some point we'll get an Ambrose Sheamus match, and maybe they could have something where Reigns isn't there for whatever reason, and Ambrose comes out and says, "You know what, you screwed my friend, so I'm going to kick your ass." Though on the other hand, if let's pretend this was all a shoot, who can really get pissed off at any of the wrestlers? How can they get mad at someone who cashes in Money in the Bank when that's exactly what that thing is for?
Yeah,
it's just because, and even in the case of what Sheamus did, other than he hiding and hitting a bro kick out of nowhere when Reigns' back was turned, did he really do anything that dastardly?
Aside from joining with the Authority now.
Yeah, no. I mean, really. So yeah, they don't know what to do with these people. I think the Ziggler Breeze thing is still going to keep going, and the Owens Ambrose thing is going to keep going. Any combinations of these four guys working together is fine by me.
Well, they did have a triple threat on SmackDown. It was Ziggler, Breeze, and Ambrose. They had a triple threat. It was a damn good match on SmackDown for the number one contender, and Ambrose ended up winning it. So,
okay, I'm gonna have to go check that out. One of my favorite matches from last year was a triple threat match I think it was for the IC title. It was Dolph Ziggler against Cesaro and Tyson Kidd in a triple threat match. That was just phenomenal. So yeah, I'm gonna have to go back and watch that.
Check that one out, because that was the main event. It was a damn good match.
Okay, and that's the kind of thing that should be the main event. Let's have, yeah. But so then we had what apparently was a Carl's Jr. commercial vignette thing that I don't know what the fuck that was. I don't know.
It was the acid trip.
It really was. Yeah. We then got some more flashbacks from Survivor Series, and then we had the main event, which was Rusev with Sheamus in his corner against Roman Reigns. So here's another question, and I know I've asked this before, but Sheamus comes out for the second time in the night, and he does the yell thing again. Why? Why didn't he just walk out beside Rusev? Why does he have to yell something that no one can understand what the fuck he is saying every time he comes out? Okay, fine. If you're going to do it once in the night, fine. Why twice?
I guess they're trying to build him up as the champ.
I mean,
who
okay,
knows with him, though?
That's fine. Let's give him his own separate entrance. Fine, whatever. But that whole thing where he's a something, yeah, thing where he sticks his arms out and he used to yell fellow when he was a face, and now he yells something else that is still completely, indecipherable. That just really bothered me for some reason.
He's saying faux au bala, and I'm not exactly sure what it means. Like the internet forum that I go to a lot, there's like people, like there was actually a guy for a while that was going through and transcribing and translating Rusev's promos when he would just do them in Russian.
Oh God, that was hilarious.
There's someone that said, I don't know exactly what it means. I think it means like for the people or something like that, or something about a battering ram. Hell, I don't know. I could be totally fucking off, but it means something. I'm not exactly sure what it means, but yeah, I don't.
Okay, so he's actually screaming something in the native Irish tongue.
Yeah.
Okay, that's why I have no idea what he's saying. Okay, so now I don't feel so bad. So through this match, Sheamus got ejected from ringside. And the crowd, I will say if the whole point of Survivor Series, granted in the few hours before the event when they decided to change everything up, was to get Roman Reigns better reactions from the crowds, based on his reactions in Nashville, it completely succeeded. Now, the big test will be, let's see how he does in, smarky towns. Shoot.
Skype is turning heel on me, Dave. You were on.
It is. That's okay. So, where were we? Okay. Yeah, so I think that, the crowd was very much behind Roman Reigns. More so than I think they have been in a while. Now, granted, it's a casual crowd. It's not one of your smart cities. So if the whole point of Survivor Series was to try to Daniel Bryan Roman Reigns, basically make him this underdog, give him sympathy, which is something that I thought they were kind of doing after, as we discussed last week, it's seeming to work, at least in a city like Nashville. Now, what will happen when they're in Philly or New York or one of those cities remains to be seen. But from coming off on television, it did definitely look better that he's actually getting cheers. King Barrett came out of nowhere, hit a bullhammer, and the match basically devolved. I really enjoyed the match itself. I liked Reigns taking everyone out with chairs. I love that they're keeping, as I mentioned earlier, Sheamus, Barrett, and Rusev together. I think, though, my favorite part of this whole thing was the always amazing Rusev freak out face.
Yes.
He makes the best faces when stuff does not go his way and he loses his mind. It is hilarious. So I that made me laugh a lot. But I thought the match itself was quite good. Those two, Reigns and Rusev, actually have a pretty darn good chemistry together, and I think years down the line that will be a long-term feud they could really have some potential in. But yeah, so what were your thoughts on this one?
I thought it was a great match. It was match of the night for me. It was just such an explosive match, and it was a good match. I really enjoyed it. Thought it was a good one.
I did too. I thought it was quite good. It was, I think it was probably because it was actually given time to percolate and to do everything it needed to. It was the match of the year, match of the night, easily. So yeah, it was. But yeah, it was very explosive. Those two worked very well together. It was good, and that was Raw. Overall, I think a very disappointing show, especially considering the last three or four or so had been so good. And it was plagued with some stupid shit and matches that just should have been given more time.
Seems to be the main issue with Raw. I mean, the Raws that aren't good, that's the main issue. They're not giving people time, and they're just putting stupid shit.
Yep.
Carl's your segment was too much for me.
Well, what was creepy about that one is it started out and I'm like, what the fuck is this? And then I realized, partway through it, I was like, oh, this is a commercial. But at first I was really like, have they lost their ever-loving minds? What? Who? Is Kevin Dunn, on acid right now? This shit is crazy. But
El Torito. I like El Torito.
Yeah, that you talk about a guy who is misused. That guy can go, man. He is good.
There was a Royal Rumble where he eliminated 2 or 3 people. That was just great. It was 2 years ago, I think. He eliminated Fandango, and I'm gonna say he eliminated Santino. Of course they're gonna get eliminated, but that was just great.
Yeah.
CM just picked him up and just tossed him.
Oh, I'll have to go back and rewatch that. I know he had a WeLC match. I think it was during a TLC pay-per-view a few years ago against Hornswoggle. That was really good.
That match was awesome. I love that match.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. All right, so let's talk NXT. Now, this last week we had Breaking Ground, which I know you have only seen part of, but this episode focused a lot on Jason Jordan, Chad Gable, Mojo Rawley, Zack Ryder, a guy named Cal Bishop, who I've never seen, which is probably because he's been out with an injury, and more ZZ, who, Jesus fucking Christ, man, that just, oh, that poor guy. He is so just out of his element, not ready for this, not mentally prepared or mature enough to deal with anything. They're just they need to cut bait on him quick at some point. But Jordan and Gable are great together. I think they have a neat chemistry. Seeing that the way that they also kind of interact behind the scenes is cool. Mojo Rawley, who his character I cannot stand. Gross. He just something about him just bugs me. But he seems he seems like a nice dude. And poor Zack Ryder is like, he just comes off as like, this is my last chance. If this shit doesn't go right, I'm fired. I got nothing to back myself up with. This has got to work.
What I saw on that, Mojo Rawley seemed like he was a little jealous.
Yeah, he definitely comes off because, Zack Ryder's been in the company for what, like 8-9 years, something like that, and he's doing stuff on the main roster, and really they're not doing what they should do with Ryder, which is Ryder should be full-time in NXT to let him and Mojo really work this tag team well. Because when Tyson Kidd went to NXT, he went full-time to NXT, and he was there all the time, every show, and that did wonders for his career. They need to let that happen do that with Ryder, but they keep using him, I guess, for main events and superstars and whatnot. But overall, this is pretty good. If you get a chance, you should check it out. Before we get into the NXT program for this week, there was a bit of news. Solomon Crowe, a.k.a. Sami Callihan on the Indies, asked for his release and was granted it. So he is gone, and he is already, as of the 28th, made an appearance on AAW Wrestling. There's video out there of it. He attacked the new AAW champion, basically challenged him. I'm not familiar with that organization, but it was kind of incredible seeing him in that other environment. First of all, I see, because I've never been impressed with him in NXT, but seeing him in that other environment, it made me go, oh, now I see why they saw something in him. It just didn't translate. It didn't work in NXT, and I think he'll probably be much better for it. I'm sure now that he is a former NXT superstar, he can ask for a little bit more in his booking, so he can make some more money. So that'll be good. And there's definitely a market for him. The crowd, I don't know if you've seen that video, but they went apeshit when he showed up.
No, I didn't see that. I did see that he had got his release, though, and I've seen some of his stuff. Like, I've seen a little bit of NXT stuff that he did. I've also seen when he was doing Sami Callihan gimmick in CZW. I want to say it was CZW. Yeah, I think it was, because he was doing some tag stuff with John Moxley, a.k.a. Dean Ambrose, whenever he was doing CZW. Dude can actually go. He's not a bad wrestler. I didn't really care too much for the Solomon Crowe gimmick, though, whenever he was over in NXT. That was kind of weird. He had the whole cyberpunk thing going on. I was like, okay.
Yeah, I think they just didn't know quite what to do with him. And it just didn't work. So, I'm glad that he was able to, get his release and go on to do other things. And, with they're going to be trimming fat at some point, and it's better to let people know, hey, if you're not happy, we're more than willing to let you go, and let's part on good ways. and maybe work again some other day. It's a whole lot better than getting a pink slip.
Yeah.
Yeah. So NXT opened with an absolutely terrifying sight. Michael Cole in the ring.
Oh my gosh! I was like, please, not the anonymous Raw GM.
So yeah, there was the contract signing, which was not the main event segment. Amazingly, Cole said that William Regal was out, he recovering from some surgery, and that he was in control for the night. Also terrifying. The crowd was absolutely shitting on Cole the whole time, which was amazing. Cole said that Eva Marie would face Bayley for the women's title tonight, something that William Regal did not want to have happen, but corporate did. And that's a theme that gets played up through the whole night. And then he's like, we're going to do this contract signing, and before he can utter another word, Finn Balor comes out. And I love Finn Balor's entrance. It never gets old.
I thought this was cool. Like, it got to, like, first I just want to say, why not have Vince McMahon come out and make it seem more important than Michael Cole? It's just like, come on, man. I mean, I understand, Vinnie Mac's doing a whole lot of stuff, but I mean, it would have been cool to have actually got to see him. It's been almost a year since he's been on TV.
Yeah, other than when him standing with whenever someone dies, standing out, doing the whole thing. Since Vince has nothing to do with NXT, it would have made more sense for Triple H to be the one.
That is true. This was a cool little segment, though. Finn Balor, man, he definitely showed some emotion that he's been lacking a lot lately.
Yes. Yeah, and Samoa Joe was great coming out, just not looking at him, signing it, and then attacking him afterwards and knocking him out with a coquina clutch, making him drool. That was the whole segment was really good.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Man, he really looked like he had that lock-in pretty deep whenever he snatched him up with that freaking, what was it called? It was a sleeper? What was it?
It's called the coquina clutch. But basically it's a sleeper. It's a variation of the sleeper hold.
Yeah. The thing that he freaking had that thing in clinch tight, it looked like.
Yeah. Yeah, it was that was a great segment. We then had the Vaudevillains getting their rematch against Dash and Dawson for the tag titles. It was a decent match. It was just it was kind of boring at first, but then toward the end, with all the near falls, it got a lot better right at the end. Dash and Dawson retained, and as they're leaving the ring, Cass and Enzo came out and laid a beat down. So it looks like Cass's leg is now all better, or mostly better. So it's going to set up a feud with them and Dash and Dawson. So that should be cool. I like Dash and Dawson. I've gotten to the point that I really like them, and it's in a way it's really sad when you realize that NXT has a much deeper tag team division than WWE does.
Love their finisher too.
Yeah, it's a variation of the 3D but into a code breaker.
Yeah, I think it's sick. I like that.
Yeah, I do too. Let's see what happened next. We had Eva Marie backstage interview from William Regal's office. Just less said about this the better because she sucks. We had highlights of the Asuka Dana Brooke match at TakeOver, and then the backstage thing from last week. Then there was a vignette for the dude who plays the guitar, whose name I can't remember, and they didn't even put his name in the vignette.
I was wondering who the hell that was.
He was in a match at when they did TakeOver Brooklyn, and they had two sets of, they filmed basically two shows worth, and he was in one of those matches on that. He was in the number one contender Battle Royal. His name I think starts with an S. He's fucking awful. He's not impressive at all. Alright, so then we had Asuka versus Dana Brooke, or we were supposed to. Dana comes out on the mic talking trash to Asuka, and then Emma attacks Asuka from behind. She's all dressed in all black hoodie and everything. Eventually puts Asuka in the Emma lock. The heels leave, kind of celebrate. Asuka gets up with her wicked smile. So there's going to be more goodness from that. That was it was pretty good. It was nice to that they did that, so things don't seem as one-sided. Because right now it just seems really one-sided.
It's good to show that they actually letting Emma have some kind of freaking personality. You know, doing her little heel thing. I like it because she doesn't come off as some kind of freaking brain damaged person whenever she's freaking, you know, how she was doing whenever she was a face. You know, she's actually showing some kind of emotion. I kind of like heel Emma.
I do too. I think she's much, much better as a heel.
Evil Emma is what they're calling her.
What are they calling her?
Evil Emma.
Evil Emma. Oh, yes. Yeah. We then had Bayley doing a backstage interview with quote of the week, "I'm a wrestler, Tom, and she's not." Talking about Eva Marie. That was great. We had a Sami Zayn vignette. So the rumors are that he is going to be back for the London or the European trip. So that's cool, even though I was kind of hoping he would be gone until Royal Rumble and then show up to screw over Kevin Owens. But even if he comes back in NXT before that, they can still do the Royal Rumble thing.
Oh, yeah.
We then had Apollo Crews against Jesse Sorensen. And it was interesting, the Sorensen cat is, because the announcers were talking about him, saying things like, "Can't believe he's here," and I think it was Corey Graves said, "Where else would he be?" So I had to Google this guy, and he was a former TNA guy who had a neck injury, and Dixie Carter said, "You will always have a job here while you recover," and then they fired him while he was recovering. So classy. And you know,
I remember who you're talking about now. So this is who that is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But what's interesting is he got to keep his name. So I just thought that was interesting. Because he's wrestled under other names like Ryan Sorensen somewhere, but he kept his TNA name. So, yeah, So I'm hoping, man, the day that Adam Cole shows up, he will be able to actually say Adam Cole, baby. And we don't have to get him some new name like Adam Jones or some stupid shit. Or Cole Adams. Or
Adam Coleman.
Adam Coleman. Thank God we didn't get Stephen Keane.
Oh my God. Oh, that'd be bad.
I mean, Daniel Bryan works from Bryan Danielson, but I remember all the.
Dusty actually wanted Kevin Owens to have his name be Kip Stern.
Who did?
Yeah, Dusty Rhodes.
Kip
There was a story that he wanted Kevin Owens' name to be Kip Stern.
Oh God, no! God, no, Dusty.
Yeah.
No.
So it was just that would be bad. Kip
Yeah.
Stern, bad.
It was funny though. Dusty was the one who finally gave Sami Zayn his name. He was the final one to say, "No, you're going to tell him Sami Zayn is your name. That's what we're going to go with." But yeah, Kevin Owens works. But it was so funny after Kevin Steen got signed, all the memes and the jokes about he's going to be Stephen Keane. Oh God, that made me laugh more than it should have. I needed that. But this was, a pretty decent match. Crews won with that sit-out powerbomb thing, which looks cool. Gets on the mic and accepts Baron Corbin's challenge for TakeOver. I like, and they've done this with Tyler Breeze, I like that they're giving some of these guys more than one finishing move, so they don't have to rely on just one thing.
Yeah.
Though I wish they would let Crews do the standing moonsault into the standings shooting star press, which is what he had used. And in a lot of his early training vignettes, you would see him doing that. And so I wish they would let him just do that. But so Baron Corbin had a backstage interview responding to Crews. this is going to be good. I think these two are going to have a good chemistry, and it just boils down to one person doesn't like the other one, so they screwed them over. Very basic storytelling.
He's getting better on the mic, too.
Yeah, he is. He is.
You can tell with his promos he's progressing.
I think he's progressing in a lot of ways. His in-ring work, because the first kind of long match he had, which was the first one he ever lost, was in a tournament, a number one contenders tournament, for Sami Zayn's title when he was the NXT champion, and I think it was, or maybe it was Owens, I can't remember, but basically he had a match against Neville, and it wasn't that great, and he lost. It was his first loss, but since then he has come a long, long way. And I'm glad they're actually giving him longer matches because he's getting better. He's got a great look. He's a lot better in the ring. His mic work is a lot better. So whatever they're doing down at the Performance Center with him is really paying off.
Whoever's running his promos is doing a pretty damn good job.
Yeah.
He's just kind of getting more comfortable. One of the two.
Yeah.
I'd like to see Roman Reigns do, man. I want to see he's good with everything else. He needs to get better on the mic. Other than that, I say that every freaking week.
Yeah, exactly. Then, Charles Robinson comes out, who is, for those who may not know, he is the blonde head ref. He used to be a WCW ref. He was actually the ref in the final Nitro match against the Sting Ric Flair match. He's often referred to as Little Nate because he looks like a short nature boy, and he actually was greeted to chants of Little Nate, which I thought was hilarious. And then the ring announcer said that basically Charles Robinson is out to ensure that this match, corporate wants him out here to ensure that this match goes off without a hitch, basically. Go to commercial break where they announce Samoa Joe will be facing Tommaso Ciampa next week. I am very much looking forward to that.
A good one.
Yeah,
Have a match in the Honor when Joe came back.
I don't know, because what's so funny is we talk a lot about guys who get out of WWE and shine and do so much better. I think Ciampa is a guy who I've much preferred his work in NXT to the stuff I saw with him in ROH. And I don't know if I just got into the tail end of his crazy character in ROH, but I really like his stuff in NXT that I've seen. And maybe it's just him with Johnny Gargano, and that's such a good pairing. But yeah, he's fantastic. I'm looking forward to this match. He has completely signed, hasn't he? Was he the one that was announced that he did sign a deal, Ciampa, right? Was he the one?
I think so, yeah. I think he's one of the ones. I think there was Gargano. Did Gargano sign full time? I'm pretty sure Ciampa has.
I don't know if Gargano has, but I know he's like, I don't know if he's now just exclusively with Evolve and doing stuff with NXT, but I think Ciampa's still doing stuff down in Evolve as well. But now, since they have that deal with Evolve's parent company, and they can do a lot of swapping, which I think is a great thing. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that match next week. So then we have Eva Marie with Nia Jax versus Bayley for the women's title. Man, I tell you what, Full Sail University hates Eva Marie.
Oh, yes.
With a fiery passion. It's a beautiful thing, and something that I saw a picture of. I saw there were two guys kind of in the front row, and I hadn't noticed them during the match. I saw a picture of one of them, and then Solomonster mentioned the other one on his show. But there were two people who were basically protesting Eva Marie. One guy's sitting there reading a book through the entire match, and there was another guy who was sitting there just flipping her off the whole time.
Wow, I did not see that.
I know, but that's just brilliant. And sometimes Full Sail takes itself a little too seriously, and they just go over the line a little bit sometimes. But overall, I enjoy the hell out of that crowd. But yeah, they just hate them some Eva Marie, and Bayley came out and she was super freaking over. And I tell you what, I've mentioned it before, but Bayley and Sami Zayn, those two are just, they're money. Man, if WWE screws up those two, then there's absolutely no hope at all for the future. And I like the thing where they did that during the announcements, they dimmed all the lights except the two lights on Eva and Bayley. They've done that in a few matches now. I think that's pretty cool, trying to give a big fight feel to their title matches. And then there were some Eva wins, we riot chants, which cracked me up. And so yeah, this match was kind of a mess. Bayley hit a Bayley to belly at one point, and Nia Jax ripped the ref out of the ring. And it was such a sick... That might have been the sickest bump of the entire show. Because that poor guy flew.
Dude, he was a ragdoll.
Was. And landing face first on the freaking... on that metal grating. Oh, that had to suck. And so he got taken to the back. Something happened. Eva's going for a pin. Oh, she hit the sliced bread. She's going for the pin. Charles Robinson jumps in the ring, goes to hit. He does the count. Bayley kicks out. He looks just pissed, like, oh crap, this was the one thing I was supposed to do, is to make sure this stupid redheaded bitch wins, and I didn't do it. And Nia Jax got involved. Little Nate got knocked out of the ring, and Bayley hit a super belly to Bayley off the top rope. The original ref comes back out, counts the 3, Bayley wins, and then gets destroyed by Nia Jax. Just thank God that they did not have Eva win. I loved the story that they told with the whole corporate really wants Eva to be the champion. And I like that they set up the next feud, Bayley against Nia Jax, which it'll be interesting to see how that goes down. Because does Bayley have really any other finishers besides the belly to Bayley?
Not that I know of. She don't have a finisher. She don't have a submission, does she?
Not that I know of. Honestly, that girl needs a better finisher. A belly to belly suplex, for Pete's sake.
Yeah.
But, and because I don't know if I can see her hitting that on Nia Jax. I mean, I don't think they're going to put the belt on Jax yet. She hasn't been there long enough. And I think they're going to need to keep it on Bayley for a while. But that was NXT. What were your overall thoughts on the show?
It was a pretty good show. I really like I was telling you, like, for me, you go over the match of the night. The match of the night for me was probably the tag. Well, I think it was the tag match, the one with the mechanics. They're starting to get better in the ring, and yeah, it was a good show overall. Got to see some motion from Finn Balor. I thought that was awesome. That's going to be a freaking awesome match. Next week's going to be a pretty good match too, that main event. So
yeah, I agree. I thought it was a good overall show too. It wasn't, as far as wrestling, it wasn't one of their shows with a whole bunch of great matches. The matches that were there were fun. You know, the Vaudevillains mechanics match was probably the best one of the night. I really like Dash and Dawson, even, which is so funny considering I thought they were absolute jokes when I first saw them. But they're coming. I've turned a corner on them. But yeah, overall it was a pretty good show. It told a lot of story, which was good. All right, well, let's go. I'm sorry, go ahead.
His name was Elias Sampson. That's who that is.
Elias Sampson, yes. I knew there was an S in there somewhere. Yeah, he sucks.
I'm not really familiar with the... Is he a TNA guy? I'm not really sure. The name sounds familiar, so I want to say maybe I've seen him pop up, like, in my brief stint that I forced myself to watch TNA.
I don't know. I really don't know. Speaking of TNA, they up and canceled their trip to India after all the hoopla that they did about that, and Yeah, that, who knows? Apparently their whole deal with Pop TV is Pop TV is not paying them. But what happens is, I guess TNA gets the ad revenue. TNA is not paying to be on there because Pop TV, there's some other wrestling organization that has a show on Pop TV, but it's basically they pay for the airtime. And that's not the case with TNA, but Pop TV is not paying TNA either. But, you know, as long as they're on the air, it keeps them going. They just get rid of that goddamn six-sided ring.
Oh, dude, it's so over gimmicky. That's why I can't watch it, man. I'm good on it.
Yeah.
No, from what I understand, Kurt Angle just recently announced his retirement from TNA. So
Yes.
really another reason why not to watch TNA. Aside from E3, that's about it.
Yeah, he is going to do, I guess, their tour of England. So any chance of him showing up at this year's Royal Rumble are out. Because that tour of England happens either right before or right after the Rumble. But yeah, I guess he's also made a mention of saying that he thought his run in TNA was better than his run in WWE. But then months before he said he thought of himself more as a WWE guy than a TNA guy. Who knows? Kurt, you're lucky you're alive. Between the crazy crap you've done in the ring over the years and the amounts of horrible stuff you put in your body, you're lucky to be walking. So, but yeah, he's whether he shows up in WWE for one last run. I mean, granted, you talk about something that would put butts in seats. Imagine WrestleMania 32, Brock Lesnar versus Kurt Angle.
Man, and that's I'm sure you've seen it, but that's one of the best WrestleMania matches I've ever seen. Hands down. Brock Lesnar and Kurt Angle, man, those two guys, and they're legit amateur wrestlers. Oh, man, that's a dream match right there.
Yeah. That's the one where Brock almost broke his neck, right?
With that shooting star press.
Yeah. He's so lucky he did not die during.
He landed right on his freaking forehead, man. Like, it was crazy.
He did. It was bad. Well, let's get into Ring of Honor before we do our top fives for the week. Ring of Honor opened up with Moose coming out to his awesome Moose chants against Dominic Carter, this poor tiny little man. The match was all of maybe 10 seconds. Spear, win, over. Stokely Hathaway got on the mic and basically was calling out Jay Lethal, saying that Moose needs title shot, and then started calling out, trash-talking Michael Elgin, which prompted Elgin to come out. And Elgin basically said he wants Moose to speak for himself. Moose eventually did say something, but then Truth Martini and the House of Truth came out, trash-talking around, and it turned into a tag match of Michael Elgin and Moose against Donovan Dijak and Baby Tista, Jay Diesel. He really does look like a miniature mini-me Batista.
Really does.
Really does.
I really actually thought about that, but he does.
Yeah, and Moose and Elgin got the win. I just loved in this match. There was so much like one-upsmanship between Moose and Elgin. Like there was a moment where Moose was like, "Tag me in," and he did a suplex, and Elgin's just sitting there like, "Really?" He's like, "Tag me in," and then he does one of his like 30-second delay suplexes. And I loved the ending spot, the buckle bomb followed by the spear. That was great. I could see these two actually being a tag team, but it's definitely setting up a program, I think, between the two, which has a lot of potential. I think that could be a lot of fun to watch.
And I used to love, as a side note, I used to freaking love it when Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns do that when they had the Shield together. That was their finisher for a little while when they were tag champs. I used to love that because it transitioned so well.
Yeah, it's a great setup move. We then had story time with Adam Cole, which I just love. I'm getting the feeling that this segment is kind of taking the place of the Inside ROH segment, and maybe on the weeks that Adam Cole has matches that they'll do Inside ROH instead. I don't know. We'll find out next week, I'm guessing. But this one was all about the Kingdom. And then he announced at the end that he next week will have a match against Dalton Castle, which I'm very much looking forward to. Adam Cole's just great.
It's so weird because I actually didn't get to see that segment. I watched the Destination America one. I need to watch the RingOfHonor.com one because they cut that out of the segment or the Ring of Honor that I watched. I watched it on the Destination America and it was completely cut out.
Yeah,
they're talking about Adam Cole.
Yeah, I don't know why they do that, but yeah, it's since with the way that their programming falls, it's just I just watch it on there. Since the episode we're going to end up talking about every week is the one that will be on their website as of the Saturday before our show. I just watch it on their website, and if nothing else, also I don't feel guilty. Because I'm, watching their commercials, and thus they're getting money for me watching their commercials. So there's that. We then had a Roderick Strong vignette for his feud with Jay Lethal. It's kind of vignette promo combo thing. It was one of the best Roddy promos I'd ever seen. Really, he is not that great on the mic, but this was awesome. I thought.
I like that. Shows what he can do.
Yeah.
It's funny because if you go watch some of his PWG stuff, he's like total asshole heel. But he's in Ring of Honor and he's just a super over baby face. It's funny. You can tell how good of a wrestler that he is by being able to do the PWG stuff, as a heel, and then come over to Ring of Honor and be straight baby face.
Yeah. Yeah, and his in-ring ability is just top notch. I wonder sometimes if it gets for the guys who do work on the indies and the gals, because they, you might be primarily a Ring of Honor person, but you're also doing shows, maybe New Japan, PWG, all over the place. How confusing does it get to keep your character straight from one place to another?
Another thing I was going to say, it's the same way with New Japan. Is the Kingdom is actually over in New Japan, but their faces over in Japan, so they come over here to Ring of Honor and they're just straight heels. That's how it's weird. Like it's got to be confusing.
Yeah, the Bullet Club is kind of the opposite. In Japan, they're heels and they're hated, but AJ Styles and the Young Bucks show up in Ring of Honor and they're the most beloved people on the planet.
Yeah.
And now for them, they don't seem to do much different as far as the way they behave in the ring, and I don't know if I haven't really noticed a whole lot of difference between the Kingdom and the way they act in the ring, but I would get confused. I would, you show up somewhere for some show and you have to be like, oh shit, what am I here? What am I again? Crap. Who am I supposed to be pissed off at?
You got to think though. It's the job, and it's their life that they live. So I'm sure that, they're probably like us. They keep notes and shit of what they do. And
oh yeah.
For that. So.
Yeah. All right. So then we had come back from commercial and BJ Whitmer's in the ring with Adam Page and Cody Colby, whatever his name is, Carino. I can't remember that poor kid's name. And BJ's talking trash on Steve Carino. He gets hit with some awesome what chants. And he then starts calling out Nigel McGuinness. Nigel jumps up, gets in the ring, is like, okay, fuck this, I've had it. And says that BJ and Page are basically banned from Final Battle, from the big Ring of Honor bits. Final Battle is basically Ring of Honor's WrestleMania, is it not?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so they're kicked off of the biggest show of the year. Now, granted, it's with Carino out. I mean, who are they even? Is is Paige still feuding with Jay Briscoe?
That's what I was wondering. I was going to ask you, I mean, where do they go from here? I mean, is Colby Corino, is he a wrestler, or what is he? Is he just
Yeah, no one knows. Yeah, I really don't know too. I'm
wanted to see Steve Corino and BJ Whitmer, but that's not going to happen now.
Yeah, no. Yeah. Maybe Corino will pick someone to wrestle in his place. Maybe they'll who knows? I guess we'll find out. But yeah, I don't know what's going on with the decade. Okay, so we BJ Whitmer, yeah, we both agree he sucks. So sorry about the technical difficulty, folks. It's just bear with us. We then had the main event, Roderick Strong against Jay Lethal for the TV title, and this was match of the week, beyond a shadow of a doubt. This was great. What'd you think?
This was a hell of a match. This, for me, just because the last match went an hour, I liked that first match more. The second match was okay. The third match that they had, this one that we see on TV, this one was the second best match. This was a hell of a match, and especially, I love the way that it ended. And it sucks for me because I actually work with someone who watches Ring of Honor on the weekends, and a lot of the times they'll watch it before I get a chance to, and the ending actually got spoiled for me. But it was still a hell of a match regardless. So
yeah, I knew the ending. I was spoiled by it too. I think more because I saw a posting on Facebook. But it was awesome. I did not see the hour-long match that they had. I did see the rematch. Then I thought that was phenomenal. This match was just every bit as good. It wasn't as long as either the other two, but it didn't need to be. It was great. And I loved how just at the end, it was like Roddy is like, okay, MFer, I'm just going to hit you with every single finishing move I've got. Oh, that wasn't enough. Let me hit you again. That wasn't enough. I'm going to do this. And now I'm going to tie you up in a Boston Crab and stick my knee in your back. How do you like that?
Man, and when he flipped him and hit him with that backbreaker and then put him in that Boston Crab, man, that was just, oh my gosh, that was crazy. And there was a part where Jay Lethal was going for the lethal injection, and he was just said, fuck you, drop kicked him right before he even got a chance to even hit him with it.
Oh, that was great. And I loved the part, we talked about Rusev's great freak-out face, and we've mentioned Tyler Breeze, his freak-out face is amazing. But that part where Lethal hit the lethal injection off the top rope, and which was just amazing looking, and then Roddy kicked out, and Lethal's lip just quivers, and he looks like he's about to cry. That was incredible. Just the whole match, everything was fantastic about it. Roddy got the win, he's a new TV champion. He's a Roderick Strong Triple Crown winner in Ring of Honor, so he's won every single title they have multiple times. Which is probably why they call him Mr. ROH. But yeah, this was an outstanding match. And I don't know, I guess one of his first challengers is going to end up being Bobby Fish, because Bobby Fish is still due a TV title shot at some point, at least according to the announcers. And I'm sure there'll be a rematch against Lethal. But now, it made sense. Eventually they were going to have to get that TV title off of Lethal, so other folks have belts to fight for.
Yeah, you can't see Lethal defend twice, every pay-per-view.
No, the one time.
I'd love to see that. I mean, but
yeah, and you just don't want him to have to go through that. That's just the punishment on him. As great as Jay Lethal is, that's double trouble. But that was easily the match of the week. Tons of fun. Loved it. And that was Ring of Honor. Not a whole ton of Ring of Honor news that I know of. Have you heard any rumblings in the Ring of Honor land?
Not really. I just want to say basically that I love this feud that they have. For me, this is one of the best feuds I've seen since I've got back in the Ring of Honor. this is the best feud I've seen in a while, and I've also liked Kevin Steen and El Generico. This one's kind of ranking up there. Jay Lethal and Roderick Strong. You got some good chemistry, and you guys can put on some damn good matches.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be contender for Feud of the Year, the two of them. Yeah, they work just beautifully together. Their matches are always, 5-star matches. So, yeah, this is probably going to be the end of it for at least a while, but you get the feeling that's another, that 6 months, a year or two down the line, they can pick that feud right back up, and it'll just be incredible. All right, so we're going to head over to the segment we've decided to make it official since both Jason and I are list guys. We love making lists. We love reading lists. Every week we're going to do 2 top 5 lists. And this week we've got our top 5 favorite finishers that are non-submission and single wrestler finishers, and top 5 managers of all time. So I'll let you go first. Which list do you want to do first?
Let's do the finishers first, because right. I think mine and yours are going to kind of differ a little bit.
All right, so we'll do start at 5, and then work your way to 1.
Okay, so number 5 for me is I like the RKO, and the reason I like that thing is because I've always, like, Randy Orton is a good wrestler. I've never really been huge into Randy Orton, but I love the RKO out of nowhere. And the RKO, my favorite RKO of all time, was at this WrestleMania when Seth Rollins went for a curb stomp, and Randy Orton just launched him into the air, and I mean, it looked like he went like 8 or 9 feet in the air, and he just dropped him and caught him with the RKO. That was magnificent. And then I've seen another one where it was a Raw match between him and Dolph Ziggler, and Dolph Ziggler jumped up on him, and it looked like he was fixing to powerbomb him, and he just throws Dolph Ziggler up and catches him with an RKO. It was just a thing of absolute beauty. And I'm sure you've seen GIFs and the best RKOs and stuff, but man, I'm a mark for a good RKO.
That is a great move. That is one we share on our lists. So what's your number 4?
Number 4 is the lethal injection. And I just love this move because it's kind of it's a little bit of flippy shit, but like it's basically a flip, like a springboard flip into a cutter. And I love that move, man. That was the move that got me as before I found out how great on the mic Jay Lethal was. That was the thing that got me as a Jay Lethal fan, was that move.
Okay, so to me though, I see that as the same move as the diamond cutter, the RKO, the lethal injection, and just the cutter and to some extent the Stone Cold Stunner are all variations of the same move. Lethal just has a different setup than most people. But yeah, that's a good one, Jay Lethal. I love it when he hits that move, and it's just the only thing that I find with that move is it's so obvious that it's like, oh, I know what's coming. What I loved in the match with Roddy is when he hit it off the top rope. You're like, oh, that's not something we see him do every day.
Yeah, it's you're right. It's just, I don't know. I guess it's that flip, that added little flip is kind of what does it for me. Nice. Number 3 has to be the Styles Clash. And I like the Styles Clash, and I mean, it's messed up to say this, but this move has legitimately messed people up. Like, I mean, you could argue that the guy didn't take the move right, but even whenever he does hit the move, it's just, I think it's beautiful. I think it's a beautiful move.
Okay, very good. That one is also on my list.
Number 2 is the Bumaye from Shinsuke Nakamura. And just the way that dude lays a knee into somebody is just freaking, it's more brutal than a Shining Wizard. I mean, he just goes full force, and I've seen him hit a guy in the back of the head with it. I've seen him hit guys right in the head with it. I mean, it's off the top. Bumaye is just awesome.
Very cool.
Number 1, and this is an old school move, and I freaking love this move. It doesn't matter I see JBL do it, Stan Hansen, but it's the lariat. That is my number one favorite finisher. Move is just straight up brutal, and you gotta love the way that a lot of guys are doing it now. Like, I like Dean Ambrose the way he does his, and I love the way Luke Harper does his. Luke Harper, like, it's like we were talking earlier. I mean, looks like he just decapitates people whenever he hits them with that lariat.
Yeah. My favorite lariat was, and the lariat's basically just a clothesline. But my favorite was always Barry Windham's, because he did that thing where, and Barry Windham was a very tall, or is a very tall, and back in the day was a very lanky guy. But he would, whip someone off the rope. He would go back into the rope and do this jump thing where he looked like he basically wrapped his hand around someone's neck, and then as he twisted around their body doing the lariat. And I always loved his lariat. That's good stuff.
Yeah, lariats, man. I don't know. I'm just a mark for a good lariat. Like, especially you hear that lariat too. You hear that straight smack on skin, and it just sounds like, even if he doesn't like really hit him all that hard, it just sounds that much more brutal.
That is a good one. That is, yeah. I hadn't thought of that one. So here's my list. At number 5 is the Styles Clash. Like you said, that move has legitimately effed some people up. Sadly, I can imagine that's probably a slightly scary move to take. But I love that move. Number 4 is the Diamond Cutter / RKO. And I always, as great as Randy Orton does this, I associate this move with Diamond Dallas Page, because that's where I first saw it. And of course, also being a WCW guy, I love how Page even evolved the way he did that move over the years, and just toward the end, he would hit it out of nowhere. He'd have someone up in a fireman's carry and nail it. That's a great move. Number 3, the J Driller. Love the J Driller.
J Driller, I love a move. I forgot about that one.
Yes. Number 2, and even though it is often used too much, I can't help but love it, the super kick.
Super kick, yeah.
I think and we talked about this before, a perfectly hit super kick can legitimately knock some fool out. So yeah. And my favorite move of all time is quite possibly one of the most infamous moves in wrestling history, because it's been used by one guy in Japan all of like 7 times, and that's Burning Hammer.
See, I've heard of that move, but I've actually never seen it before.
Okay, so you know what a Death Valley driver is, right?
Yes.
Okay, so imagine doing a Death Valley driver, except instead of being from a fireman's carry position, your opponent's in a torture rack position.
So it's like inverted?
Right. You've got someone up for the Lex Luger torture rack backbreaker, and throw them up and drop them on their head.
Jeez.
Yeah,
that sounds rough.
It is. If you look out there, there's a lot of different websites have put together lists of moves that have been banned by WWE, and this one is always on that list. And it's one of those, you would want that as a move. That's never a move someone does on a regular basis. That is the move where you're in that match that's going 45 minutes. You've hit somebody with everything there is to hit, and John Cena keeps kicking out. And you're like, okay, how about we paralyze your stupid ass and hit that? And that's just because you don't get up from it. It's a sight to behold. And there's the part of me. There's this one part of me that's like, use that move because it's so awesome, and it looks like you see it done, and you're like, there's no way you're getting up from that. And then there's the other part of me that's like, this will actually kill people. It's a very good thing that this move is not used, because death.
I like the pile driver. I like the pile driver as a finisher too, but that's kind of a banned move, and it goes back to like what me and you was talking, how you was just saying, this move's not going to work on John Cena. I've seen a match with CM Punk and John Cena. It was a Raw match. I won't say wasn't Raw 1000, but it was, I don't know, it was a really good match. But CM Punk was like, I don't know what the hell to do, so he picks him up and pile drives him. And you don't see pile drivers anymore in WWE, other than when Undertaker does the tombstone. Other than that, that's a bad move. You don't see a good pile driver anymore.
Yeah,
because it can fuck someone up. I mean, it's one of the things that Owen Hart accidentally broke Stone Cold's neck over this stuff. I mean, he didn't hit that pile driver right. So
I would love someday for them to allow Kevin Owens to, in just some match where he's just desperate, preferably as a babyface, to hit the package pile driver.
Man, whenever he had that first match against John Cena, he went to go for it looked like a setup for it, and I was like, holy shit, he is really going to hit this move. And it just like turned out to be like some kind of like a side slam or something. Like, I was like,
Yep.
oh, come.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think he did that in his match against Sami Zayn, too. His first match against Zayn. And that was, that was there just for people to mark out about. So that's my top 5 favorite non-submission finishers of all time. Good list there, Jason. All right. So let's go on to managers. I'll let you start again. So your top 5 managers, starting with number 5.
Number 5, I took it old school, and I went with Freddie Blassie. It's just like, that guy was the original heel manager, and he got so much hate and calling people pencil neck geeks and just he was the original heel manager. I haven't got to see very much of his work, but I have seen a lot of it from when I've went back and watched a lot of the old WWF stuff and just stuff like that. It's pretty good. Number 4 on my list was J.J. Dillon. One of the guys that was, he managed the Four Horsemen for all them years, and he was there pretty much almost the entire time, except for one time when I can't remember who it was, but they had a Japanese guy manage the Four Horsemen for a little while.
Yeah, I'd forgotten about Freddie Blassie. He was hilarious. I liked him, and JJ's on my list.
JJ, number 3 is, and this number 1, 2, and 3, these ones can kind of like interchange at any time because I really like all these guys. Well, number 2 and number 3. Number 1 is definitely the one on my list, but number 3 is Paul Heyman. I mean, you gotta love Paul Heyman. I mean, I've seen him cut some of the best shoot promos on Vince McMahon and just on WWE in general. It was just absolutely crazy, some of the promos I've seen him do. If you actually have a chance, you need to pick up that Paul Heyman DVD, or if you get a chance to just procure it in some other kind of way, you need to get it because it's got a great documentary on it, and it's got 2 discs of just him talking. I mean, just him cutting promos, and it's just absolutely amazing.
Sweet, yeah, he is on my list, and I've seen the documentary. It was fantastic.
Number 2 on my list is Jim Cornette. I freaking love Jim Cornette, and a lot of people don't like Jim Cornette just because of how old school he is. But for me, that's why I like Jim Cornette, is because he takes it back to that old Memphis kind of style wrestling. There was one promo that I've seen him cut. It was on WWF television, where basically he was talking about the state of wrestling at the time, and he was talking about basically like that going to Stanford was like trading a nice house for a bed in a hospital sick ward. It was just great. He just cut a promo like about WWF on WWF TV.
Oh, that's awesome. He's on my list as well.
Number 1, and I wouldn't doubt if this guy isn't on your list, but got to go with Brain, Bobby the Brain Heenan. Yeah. He is the best.
Yeah, he is also on my list. And in fact, there's only one person that is not on both of our lists. So we'll start. My number 5, the top 4, I pretty much came to mind almost immediately. Number 5 I had to think about, and I decided to go with someone more modern, and that's Truth Martini.
Truth Martini, yeah, that's a good one. I didn't actually think about that one.
Because managers just aren't used as much anymore as they used to be, and I haven't seen a ton of his work, but what I've seen I really, really enjoy. Number 4, Bobby Heenan. I remember back in the day when he was, sending people to Hulk Hogan to fight. He was great. I actually preferred his announcer stuff that he did on Nitro.
Just his announcing in general was great.
Yes, yeah, his announcing in general was phenomenal. Number 3, James J. Dillon. Being a big NWA fan, I've had to include him. Number 2, Jim Cornette, because just everything you said. And number 1, Paul Heyman. You could really, those top 3, you could almost interchange.
They're interchangeable. Yeah, that's how I feel.
So there was I miss a good manager. We need more managers or valets anymore, and that's a lost art, I think, in professional wrestling or sports entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. Well, that's pretty much going to do it for this week. Now, next week, ladies and gentlemen, Jason here is going to be on assignment, so he shan't be with us, which means you get my dumb ass for however long I can figure out something to talk about. But yeah, that's pretty much it. You got any final thoughts before we get out of here?
I mean, that was match of the week for me goes to Jay Lethal and Roderick Strong. That was definitely a hell of a match. I look forward to watching Ring of Honor this week. I'm try and get caught back up on my Japanese New Japan wrestling. So if you actually get a chance, you should. I don't know if you're really into a lot of like the super violent wrestling, but you should go back and watch some of the FMW matches, and they have a lot of the full like the pay-per-views and everything that are on YouTube and stuff, and it's got a lot of Terry Funk, Cactus Jack, just all kinds of just crazy exploding time bomb barbed wire death match kind of crazy. So if you're into that stuff,
Not really. I mean, a little bit of blood goes a long way for me. It's probably kind of, I don't know. I like my violence to be fake, and I don't really enjoy seeing people get hurt in real life, except for those, hilarious videos of people getting hit in the nuts and stuff, because those are just never cease to be funny. But that's why I'm not a big UFC fan, with the exception of like watching Ronda Rousey fights. I really don't like seeing people legitimately beat the utter fuck out of each other.
Were you a fan of ECW back in the day?
I didn't see a lot of ECW back during its real heyday. I did when they got on TNN before it became Spike TV. When they had their run there, I remember seeing it was the Dudley Boys' last match, and they dropped the title to Tommy Dreamer and Raven, and it was Raven's first night back in ECW. And I remember seeing when Taz lost the ECW championship to Mike Awesome, and then subsequently win it back because of contractual stupidity. So yeah, I didn't see a lot of that really, really terrible quality ECW arena stuff. I didn't see a lot of that. And by the time it was on TNN, they had kind of moved away from the brutal, like, we're going to cut everyone death match kind of stuff, and they'd really become more known for their technical wrestling, which then a lot of those guys had already left for WCW. So that was kind of my exposure.
What are your thoughts, like, and this is just totally going off on just a different thing as we were going off, but what are your thoughts on New Jack?
I don't really have any.
He's a crazy bastard.
Yeah, I mean, he's one of those dudes that I don't have an opinion one way or another. I mean, I would legitimately have to go back and find some of his stuff to watch. I don't know if it was just I missed seeing a lot of his work at time. I just don't have an opinion of him. Yeah,
that's pretty much it for me. I don't know. I when I got back into wrestling, I started watching a lot of the ECW stuff, and it got me going on to the crazy hardcore stuff over in Japan, and it's just, I don't know. It just really depends what kind of a wrestling fan you are.
Yeah, well,
I guess I'll pretty much watch anything, I guess.
Well, just as an example, did you ever see the movie The Wrestler?
Oh yeah, Wrestler's great.
Yeah, but that match he had in there with that crazy guy with the staple gun, that actually really kind of disturbed me.
That guy is an actual wrestler too.
That's what I've heard, and those are what his matches are like.
Yeah, that is. Oh God, what's his name? I can't remember. Something Butcher, something like. It's not Abdullah, but it's. Yeah, I know who he is. I'm familiar with his work as well.
Yeah, that honestly kind of creeped me out. Was not down with that. All right, well, we are going to get out of here, and we will be back next week, or at least I will, and Jason will be back the following week. So, all right, as I always love to say, take care of yourselves and each other.
You've been listening to Around the Ring on the Spark Radio Network.
All you have to do is change your point of view. And believe.
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass.
This sucks more than anything that I've ever fucked before.
What? It's for charity.